the game.
Hi, I'm Kelsa Dickey, the CEO of the Financial Coach Academy and my financial coaching business, Fiscal Fitness Phoenix. My coaching journey began more than a decade ago with me helping people for free from my dining room table. What was once a little business of mine has grown into a 7-figure company that employs a team of people. My goal is simple, to help you fall more and more in love with financial coaching. I believe financial coaching is the most rewarding way to make a living. If you are an aspiring financial coach or have been coaching for years, I'm here to help you create a business you love that gets your clients massive results. Let's get to it.
Well, hello, financial coach. Welcome to the Financial Coach Academy podcast. As you can tell, I'm not your normal host, Kelsa Dickey. She is away on her summer sabbatical, living it up on Lake Michigan and enjoying that lake life. And I am Jill Emanuel, lead financial coach with Fiscal Fitness Phoenix and one of the mentors for the Financial Coach Academy. I am subbing in for Kelsa for these next few episodes, and I'm so happy to be here with you guys. The last time I did this was last summer when Kelsa was out for a couple of months, and so I'm really excited to be back and to be diving in with you guys for the next 4 episodes. So before we dive in, I wanted to give a shout out to Gloria Jackson. She left a review on our YouTube channel, and Gloria says, "Thank you so much for this podcast. I've been given a huge opportunity to educate and help the parishioners of my church to improve their financial lives." And she is loving this podcast and diving in to be able to educate herself to get ready to do that. So thank you so much for Gloria for sharing that with us, and congratulations on the new opportunity. I hope it goes really well. Okay, so for today's topic, guys, we are going to be diving into how to handle pricing objections. So grab a stool, grab a pen. You're going to want to take some notes. I know this is always a really big topic, something that we hear from coaches all the time of how to overcome objections on pricing, how to do it in a way that doesn't feel yucky, and just how to be a little bit more confident with your sales conversations. So today we're going to be talking about that, about how to navigate these client conversations when you feel like maybe you're getting a little bit of pushback when you start to talk about price. Now, this topic came up several times during the first quarter of this year when we were running our Client Creator Challenge. So if you are not familiar with the Client Creator Challenge, this is something that we do the first quarter of every year where we help a group of coaches to get hyper-focused on their client attraction efforts and how to create that client attraction model to attract and bring in new leads, prospects, and clients. And it is a really fun thing that we do over the course of 90 days. The coaches this year brought in over $500,000 in new client revenue, which is really exciting in just 90 days. So if you're someone that's interested in checking out the Client Creator Challenge or maybe joining us when we kick off again next January, you're going to want to make sure that you get on the wait list. So if you want to go check that out, get your name on the wait list, head on over to financialcoachacademy.com. And then you're going to want to click on events and then the Client Creator Challenge. And on that page down at the bottom, you'll be able to find the place to add your name to the wait list. So even if you're not sure, get your name on the wait list because that's when you'll know when we're opening doors for enrollment and you can get more information. So I highly recommend heading over there and getting signed up. Okay, so I was talking about the Client Creator Challenge because this topic was one of the really big things that we saw again and again during the challenge. We had several coaches who were expressing to us that they would get clients on the phone, they would have a really great Q&A call with them, but then the client would say something along the lines of, "As much as I would love to work with you, I just don't have it in my budget at this time." Okay, so one coach specifically asking for help with navigating this, those were the exact words that he received. It was in an email, and those exact words came back to him, and he said, "I don't know. I feel like my pricing isn't too high. I feel like this is a great value. I know I can help this person. So I don't really think that it is the price, but I don't know how to overcome this objection." And so we wanted to dive into helping him with that. And so I thought I would share with all of you how we navigated that as well. Okay, so as we talked through this with this particular coach on one of our group coaching calls, I'm very happy to say that he was able to have a follow-up call call with that client who had just told him it's too expensive, I can't afford it in the budget. And through a conversation on the phone with her, they actually found that it wasn't the price at all. She was just nervous about things, and she did wind up booking that coaching session and moving forward to him or to working with him. So it is possible to overcome that objection, and not in a pushy or sleazy or salesy way, but you really need to be able to talk to the client about what their concern is. And so I knew that this was an important topic to share with all of you on the podcast. That's why we're talking about it today, Coach. All right. So one of the things that I keep hearing from coaches, so in the challenge in our Financial Coaches Unite Facebook group, when I'm doing my one-on-one coaching with other coaches, I will have them tell me that they are hearing these objections from clients, and they keep hearing, people keep telling me my pricing is too high, or they'll say things like, people don't want to pay for help with their money, or they'll say things like, how do I convince people I'm worth it? And this last one really makes me cringe the most, right? Because we don't ever want to be convincing anyone to work with us. So usually, if a client has connected with us, it means that they're having problems with their money in one way or another. Now, obviously, this is going to vary a lot from client to client and niche to niche, but the very fact that they have reached out tells us that there is something more that they want out of their financial life. And they might want less stress or more confidence. They might want more ease and cash flow or less debt. They might want help making a big decision. They might want some strategy or structure to make managing both their business and personal finances a bit easier and more streamlined, or any other number of things. And typically, if you're getting an objection that the client just can't afford it right now, it most likely means that they don't clearly see how coaching is going to help them to get the solution that they need, right? They don't understand what they're going to get out of your coaching, and they don't have enough belief yet that you can help them solve their problem. Okay, so if you're getting this objection that the price is a little too high, that is usually what's at the core of it, that the client, I'm repeating this again, okay, it is not that the price is too high, it is that the client doesn't have enough belief yet that you can help them solve their problem. Okay, once the client believes that this is the solution, it becomes a no-brainer for them. Okay, if they believed that you could help them, they would likely figure out how to pay for it, especially for anyone who is not charging top tier for their coaching, which is most of what I see with the clients that we work with. Those that were in the Client Creator Challenge or are some newer coaches in Financial Coaches Unite, usually you're not charging the top tier pricing. You're newer into coaching maybe, and if you're getting those objections, it is not that your price is too high, okay? So I want you to just remember that when you start getting those objections. Most coaches that I see, that we work with are charging kind of the average price, right? Like a good starter amount for the session. So if you're finding yourself getting the objection that pricing is too high or they just can't afford it right now, you might find yourself thinking, like, should I just resign myself to the fact that they really can't afford it? Or you might think, should I try to communicate with them the value of coaching and what I can do for them? You might start to notice that maybe this isn't the first time that you've happened to get this response or this objection. And so you start to think, maybe I need to refine my strategy, or maybe I need to figure out how I'm talking to prospects about what I do. And so I'm going to cover 6 things that you can do to better navigate this conversation. Okay, so 6 things. And you're going to want to take some notes as we go. All right, so thing number 1 that you're going to want to do when you are getting objections that the price is too high is to validate and reassure. Okay, so when a client is worried about the expense of coaching, do not shy away from acknowledging that it can be scary to invest in coaching. All right, acknowledge that this is a big decision. It can be a bit of a leap of faith, and especially if they haven't invested in coaching before, right? They don't exactly know what to expect or what they're going to get out of it. So your first response is always to validate them, to acknowledge this. You can say things like, I know this can feel really scary. I know it's a complete leap of faith. And I feel 100% confident that I'm going to be able to help you figure this out. I have no doubt that we're going to find ways to improve your money that will likely be even greater than what this session is going to cost. And you're going to feel less stress with your money every month going forward, right? So you want to validate. And then that last part, you're reassuring them. You're reassuring that you are confident that you can help. All right. So this really does help to connect with the client. If you don't do this step of validating and reassuring, and you start trying to persuade them or show them how much they need it or tell them that they're not going to be able to do it on their own, they're immediately going to have a wall go up. They're going to be on the defensive. They're going to be protecting themselves. They're like ready to be sold to. So you really do want to validate it. You want to acknowledge that it is a lot. I have to say that a lot with our clients too, because we are on the higher end of coaching prices. And I know that. I know that it is no small thing for a client to invest to work with me. And so I acknowledge that to them when we're having the sales conversation of, I know that it's no small thing. I know it's a big decision. It's a big step. And I also know that I can help you with this. I know that in, 90 days or one session or whatever it is that you're talking to them about, that you're going to be able to help them feel so much better. Okay, so that was step number 1. Number 2 is that you're going to want to get into the mind of your client. Okay, get into the mind of your client. So what this means is you really want to think about, what is your client going through? What do they have on their plate right now? What is happening in their life that is making things really challenging for them? An example of this from the Client Creator Challenge is the client that this whole scenario was built around. She was a new business owner. So if you think about a new business owner, you want to be able to speak to the challenges that she might be facing and just let that client know that you get it, that you understand. So in this scenario, you could say something like, I know that as a new business owner, you've got so many things going on. It can be really hard to determine what needs your attention first, second, and third. Or I know it can be so hard to juggle so many different things. And that's often why managing your money in your business can feel so hard too, right? You could say coaching is going to address so much more than just a budget. It's going to allow you to look at your business strategically and to determine how to use your money best, how to leverage what you have. And it's going to allow you to run your business better, right? So a new business owner, these are the concerns that they have. They're trying to figure out what to do with limited resources, right? They need to hire people or buy new inventory or invest in their marketing. And there's so many different things that they're trying to figure out. And this is one more expense. And they're trying to decide, where does it fit into the puzzle and how is it going to help things, right? So they're trying to choose the thing that will help them grow and make things easier for them. And this is one more piece of that. So you really do want to acknowledge that you understand that there are a lot of plates that are spinning, considerations that need to be made. And again, with that, reassuring them and validating things is that you know that this is one step that really will help them and have a huge payoff in the long run, right? So you need to think about your client and where they're coming to you from. Get into the mindset of your client and really understand what they need. Okay, number 3 is that you want to find out what they're thinking, right? So this, as I have said in many other lessons and podcasts, if you listen to me in anything, I always say one of my favorite things about coaching is being curious. You have to always go into everything being curious. This is no exception to that. You want to be curious about what the client is thinking about. What are the considerations that are weighing on their mind? So you can ask them that. You can ask them, what are the factors that are on their plate? Or what are they trying to decide or make decisions about with their money right now? You might say something like, I know that this feels like a bit of a stretch for you right now. Tell me a little bit more about that. Tell me what you're seeing and what you have going on that you're trying to make some decisions around. This is what I do on a regular basis, is I help people evaluate their financial decisions. And this is just one more of them, right? So it can feel a little bit awkward, but I do always acknowledge that of like, I know that it's strange to talk about my pricing, but this is one way that I'm going to help you evaluate all financial decisions as your coach, and just sort of call it out and own that that is what you can help them with. And so get into a conversation about the considerations they're having. I've had many clients over the years that will tell me, well, I'm just trying to figure out, would it be stupid if I put this on a credit card? Or can I pull this money from savings? Or could I, wait for my tax return to come in? Or I have to fix my car next week, and so I would have to wait 3 weeks to get started. Like, they might tell you any number of things, and it will help you to have a really good conversation with them where they feel great about their path forward. Okay, so be curious and find out what considerations they have. What is that client thinking? All right, number 4. I've talked about this in other sales videos. Avoid going into convincing energy, right? We don't want to convince anyone to work with us. That is not the way that we want to, engage with people. It's not a good energy exchange. This is really a big one. As soon as you try to convince someone how much they need you, or how hard it's going to be on their own, or why they need to hurry up and take action now, you've lost them. They are feeling that ickiness. They're putting that wall up, the defensiveness, the separation from you. Suddenly you've gone from this person who, they're building trust with, that they believe can help them. And now they're in a place of thinking like, oh, all they want from me is my money. Like, you really need to watch that going into convincing energy. You can do that by doing some of those things that I talked about above. So you want to validate them. You want to reassure them. You want to really try to understand them and be curious. If you lead from that place, you are less likely to go into convincing energy. So just remember those first few steps that I talked about. That's really going to help you. And just remember that you're a normal human interacting with another human. You're really trying to actually help this person who is struggling. So don't be weird about it. And if they are still a little bit uncertain, make sure that you are leaving the door open so they can always come back to you when they are ready. So if they truly need a little bit more time, that is totally fine. Compassionately end the conversation. Let them know that you're there for them when they're ready, that you would love to work with them, and ask them how they would like to follow up if you want to re-engage a few months down the road or whatever that might look like. Okay. Number 5 is, if it truly is unaffordable, give them permission to put it on a credit card. Now, I have talked about this in a previous episode where I shared my own story. That was the episode number 33, if you haven't listened to that. But that was when I hired my own financial coach, who just so happened to be Kelsey Dickey, over a decade ago. And I did so when I had no money and had to put it on a nearly maxed out credit card. And that one decision forever changed the course of my life. And so I 100% wholeheartedly believe that it is okay for someone to put coaching on a credit card if it is the one way that they are going to get the help that they so desperately need, right? They are searching for a solution. They're ready to turn things around. And if that is the way that they can move forward, I do think that as coaches, we need to open the door to that conversation and give them permission, right? Because the client in front of us, they're there because they know they need help. And they're also feeling bad about the financial decisions maybe that they've made in the past, especially if you're working with a client who does have debt and is trying to get out of it. And they're wanting also to look like they're being smart now, right? To look like they're making good choices with their money. They want to demonstrate their commitment to change. And if they immediately put coaching on a credit card, they're questioning, like, is this actually the wrong thing to do? Will my coach think that this is stupid? Should I not be using it at all for anything? And so you do want to open the door to that conversation, and, you can give them permission. And so I will sometimes tell them, I have a lot of clients who feel really nervous about spending money initially. And sometimes it does make sense to put their coaching on a credit card so that you can get this help without having to delay. I know that you will start to feel so much better very quickly, even after this first initial session. And we're going to be able to come up with a plan to make things better right away. So letting them know that this isn't a horrible decision, that it actually could be one of the best decisions for them, because if they're really stuck and not sure how to move forward, you're going to be able to give them those solutions. All right. Number 6, the final one that I have to help navigate these conversations, is to let your client know that you're going to be right there with them. right? So that is one of the things also, is that they are nervous, they are doubting themselves, they're questioning their own ability to be successful. And you really do want to let them know that you're going to be there right by their side. You're going to be able to walk them through exactly the changes that you see that they need to make in order to free up money or begin making progress towards their goals. They're not going to have to figure this all out on their own anymore. And you really want to let them know that, because that is a huge thing. Most people that I work with will tell me that they have been researching things and they have been running scenarios and they've been, gathering information and they've tried, a half a dozen things already, and they still feel stumped or stuck, or like what they're doing isn't the best thing. And for them to know that it no longer is on their shoulders all alone, that they're the ones that have to figure this out, it is a huge thing for them. So this, again, is part of reassuring them, but really confidently letting them know you're going to be there with them. You're committed to helping them get results, that, you want them to know that making this decision for coaching is going to be so well worth it for them, and that you're committed to that too. Okay, so the next time that you are on a Q&A call with someone, or you receive an email from them and they say, I just can't afford it right now, I want you to remind yourself of this episode. Usually, they really do want your help, but they're nervous and they're scared to make the wrong decision. So remember these 6 steps and meet your client where they're at, right? You're going to be amazed at how much easier and smoother that conversation goes. You're going to be able to connect with your prospect and give them confidence to take the next step when you approach your conversations in this way. All right. In our next episode, I'm going to be diving into talking about how to engage with potential clients in your DMs. So on social media, how do you have those conversations? This is another question we got a ton of while we were running our Client Creator Challenge earlier this year. So I know it's a place where you sometimes feel a little stumped about how to move that online conversation off of social media and into the real world. So now that we know a little bit more about how to have a great conversation with a client on the phone around the sales or the pricing topic, let's dive into how to navigate those awkward text conversations online. All right. So before we go, we always love for you to have a little bit of time for reflection after a podcast episode. Coaching is all about figuring out what you think of something or how it's impacting you and the actions that you take. So in order to honor the coaching philosophy, I want you to ask yourself this question, to spend a little bit of time pondering it. So think about, in the past, when you've had conversations with prospects and they have told you that they can't afford it right now, what was your response? How did you react to it? What did you think, right? That can be really interesting to actually write down and acknowledge the thoughts that went through your head. So, and then also think about, did you follow these 6 steps, or did you use some of them in your response or conversation with them? And then think about, where might you have gone a bit astray, or how can you use these 6 steps to do it a little bit differently? All right. So I believe financial coaching is the best and most rewarding way to make a living. I truly love what I do. If you are ready to learn and see how to become a profitable, successful financial coach, check us out at financialcoachacademy.com to learn more about our online courses, free trainings, and events. And as always, we love to hear from you. So if you have any questions for the FCA podcast, or if you want to share your thoughts or anything on this reflection question from today's episode, you can go to financialcoachacademy.com/podcast and submit your question or comments there. And if you loved today's podcast, please give this a thumbs up. It really does help us. If you're listening on iTunes, leave us a review, or on YouTube, drop us a comment. We read every single one and respond back to you, and would love to hear from you there. All right, that's it for today's episode.